Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name is Christy, and I'm the marketing manager for our Master of Science in Learning Design and Technology online degree program. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, K-12 Teaching to Instructional Design, Navigating Your Career Path. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping notes. In just a moment, I'll go ahead and introduce our panel here today. We have a set of questions that we will have the panel discuss, and after that, we'll share a few quick slides on important program information for those of you who are interested in starting your education journey with us. We will be monitoring the chat you see on the side, and we will plan to have time at the end of the presentation to address questions, but please feel free to drop in questions at any time, and we'll be taking a look at those. Our session is being recorded, and you can expect an email to be sent your way with that recording by the end of the day. So now that those housekeeping notes are out of the way, I want to acknowledge that we have a variety of attendees here with us, which is awesome. Some of you might just be getting started in the field. Some of you might already be in the industry. We have some students with us. We have people who are just getting started thinking about if this program is right for them. So we would love for you to jump in, say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from, where you are in your career journey. We would love to hear a little bit more about you. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's presenters, starting with our fearless leader. Your academic director for the MS-LDT program is Dr. Lisa Evans. Dr. Evans has over 30 years of experience in the field in a variety of different areas and taught her first online course over 20 years ago. She received her PhD in instructional technology from the University of Virginia.
Hello, everyone.
In our panel with us, so I want to welcome Sean, Monica, and Danielle, and thank them for joining us today. And I'm going to go ahead and ask them to say hello and introduce themselves. We would love to hear where you all are working now and your affiliation with us here at the University of San Diego. So Sean, I'll start with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So like it's already been stated, my name is Sean. And I am working as a design and delivery consultant for a little healthcare company known as Kaiser Permanente. And I graduated, Dr. Evans, was that August that I graduated from the MS-LDT program?
Great. Thanks, Sean. Monica.
Hi, my name is Monica.
I'm sorry, Monica, before you get started, Sean, can you let us know what was your prior classroom experience?
Oh, yes.
And for all of our panelists, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a fifth grade humanities teacher, so I taught English and history for about 7-8 years, 3 different states, Colorado, New York, and California. So to say I saw it all in 7 years might be an understatement.
Thanks, Sean.
My name is Monica. I am an instructional designer for University of San Diego. So I work with, I haven't worked directly with Dr. Lisa Evans, but she's the head of the program. But my background is, I was a classroom teacher for 10 years for LAUSD. I was an English teacher for 7th grade. And prior to that, I was a graphic designer for about 20 years by trade. So I've had a long year of experience, and this is now my third career move, and hopefully my last one.
Thanks, Monica.
Hi, my name is Danielle. I'm currently an instructional designer for Travis Credit Union. It's primarily local in Northern California. Prior to this, I was a lower elementary teacher. I taught kindergarten in Richmond for about 8 years.
Great. All right. Thanks, all of you. Great to have you with us. Before we get into our panel questions, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Dr. Evans to speak a little bit to why LDT at USD.
Okay, thank you, Christy. I just want to give a brief overview for those of you who are joining us with an interest in pursuing your master's degree in learning design or instructional design and technology. One of the reasons that I think this program is a good choice if you're interested in that path is that throughout all of our courses, we have a focus on research and theory-based foundation. So we make sure that as you move through the program, and definitely as you graduate and move into the professional space that you feel very confident making design decisions based on how people learn. So we are covering lots of different theory, again, and research-based best practices that help you feel really confident even going into a job interview, talking and knowing like why you're making a certain decision about the design of a training or course that you're putting together. We are a practitioner-oriented program, so many of our course assignments are performance-based. You're producing something, you're using tools, templates, engaging in activities that many of our students find applicable to their work if they're in an ID or ID adjacent position, but also students who are new to the field find that they're able to rely on those tools and templates as they prepare for job interviews, as they move into their careers, into the career space, by using the what they've been exposed to throughout the course. And even I'll just kind of jump down to the project-based capstone. So capstone kind of brings together everything that you will learn in the program. And so we're not a master's program that requires you to write a thesis. It's all project-based. So with the main criteria being the development of a professional instructional design portfolio that you'll be piecing together throughout your time in the program, but you'll graduate in capstone with one ready to launch and help you with your job interviews and in having it in your LinkedIn. Students have found that very helpful to have a professional portfolio. And then also we have you develop an online course in an LMS of your choice. We know it's very still a valuable skill set that employers are looking for IDs to have experience with working with LMS and how to design and develop the courses. So we make that an important part of capstone. So we will be answering questions, as Christy said, in the chat and also afterwards if you have questions about the program. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Dr. Evans. All right, let's get into our panel discussion. The first question: what inspired your shift from the classroom to pursue instructional/learning design? And I'll go ahead and have Sean kick us off with this one.
I love this question. The truth is that there's an array of reasons why I wanted to shift out of the classroom and into an ID/LD role. The biggest reason being I just really wanted to further my career. You know, when I was a K-12 teacher, my dream job in that space was to teach teachers to be better teachers, right? But I quickly learned that when you're a good teacher, you stay a good teacher, because when you pull that high data, they like you to stay in the classroom. So I really wanted to just expand my skill set and figure out what else was out there where I could pursue this desire to teach people to be better at what they do, right? And so for me, it was kind of a quick Google search of like, where do teachers go when they leave the classroom? And the ad that I was served on Google was actually this program. So I was like, oh, what is this? And then I just went down a rabbit hole. And then the next day I looked at my best friend and I was like, hey, by the way, I'm going to be changing careers and this is what I'm going to be doing. And she was like, what? But, you know, like kind of going back to answer the question, you know, what inspired the shift was really just my own intrinsic motivation and my own desire to share my wealth of knowledge, but ensure that I was able to do it in a way that made sense and was actually effective by understanding the principles and theories that surround learning design and instructional design.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Monica, I would love to hear from you.
Sure. So as I mentioned, this is my third career. And I think in the classroom around year 5, you either quit teaching or you start thinking of other ways to advance your career, right? Those are like the statistics, like most teachers leave after year 5. And so I started thinking about it. I knew that I didn't want to do administration because a lot of teachers go that route, right? You go counseling or administration. And I wanted something that I could continue teaching, but not in the sense of being in front of the classroom. I wanted to, like Sean, I wanted to advance my career. I had two specific skill sets for me, was being able to teach. And then I also had the creative aspect of having been a graphic designer for many years. And so when I was looking at degrees, I was, I basically just read the course catalog and I thought, okay, what can I do? Because for me, it's, about being a lifelong learner and wanting to continue my education while also furthering other people's education. So I just found this, this specific degree. It wasn't at USD. I actually did my Master's of Science in Instructional Design and Technology at Fullerton, and Dr. Evans was one of my instructors there. So it was just kind of this like really a big coincidence that we both ended up at University of San Diego. And so the description to the program really tied in the creative aspect and my background as a graphic designer for so long, and being creative in delivering instruction, and the fact that this degree is so marketable in all sectors. Like, you don't have to go into higher ed. That was, of course, my goal. Like, I wanted to stay in higher ed. Ultimately, I want to teach in higher ed. That was just my goal. But I mean, like Sean's in, working for Kaiser, and you can go in any field, and you can go into the, nonprofit sector, the public sector, any kind of field. And I just, knowing how marketable that degree was, I knew that it was something that would be of value to me, because I knew that the only way that I wanted to pursue it was with the degree. So I started my degree in early 2019. I graduated mid-2020, so there was no graduation for me because it was COVID. So we just did everything online. And then I started my job in 2022. So I finished out the school year. But it was, it was the right move, because I tell everyone now that I love my job. I love it. And I've never been able to say that, but I love my job.
Glad to hear it. Glad to have you in the Torero family. Danielle, I'll have you answer this one.
So for me, I was a teacher for about 8 years. When I had my son about 2.5 years ago, I thought about how much time I spent every day just working. As I'm sure you all know, we don't clock out. There's always things to do, materials to prep, parents admin to respond to, lessons to plan. Your day just doesn't end. And so I started to research. This was when he was like a newborn. So you can imagine me postpartum researching, like, what are other careers that I can do that are adjacent to teaching, but that have like better work-life balance, because that's what I really wanted. I wanted to be able to spend time with my son, because I dedicated so much of my life to taking care of other people's children. I was like, I have a child now, and I want to be able to, spend that time with him. And I kind of stumbled upon instructional design, and the more I read about it, the more appealing it sounded. I was like, wow, a lot of the work, it sounds like, could be remote. Everyone's talking about how great the work-life balance is. The pay is much better than it is with teaching. And I started watching instructional videos about instructional design. I started following someone on YouTube, and something that he had said was, in one of his videos, that while you don't necessarily need a master's or formal education, that a lot of people just kind of stumble into the role, that you don't know what you don't know. And that really just stuck with me, which is how I ended up in this program, because I was like, I don't know what I don't know. And if I'm going to do this, I want to do it really well, and I want to do it right.
Thank you. Okay, question 2. What do you do in your current ID or LD related position? And this time, Monica, I'll have you kick us off.
So as I mentioned, I am an instructional designer for the University of San Diego. We work primarily on the graduate programs, so all of our graduate programs and our continuing education courses as well. So I work with SMEs, academic directors, on-the-ground professors, instructors. I'm fully remote, but they also teach online courses. And so we revise existing courses and the continuing education courses for like teachers. And then we also develop the new ones. So so that's primarily my job role, is just working with instructional, with our SMEs for developing courses.
Great, thank you. Okay, Danielle.
So currently I'm an instructional designer at Travis Credit Union, which is a financial service. Well, it's a credit union. Primarily, I design different kinds of learning experiences depending on the goal or objective. Sometimes it's for financial service representatives. Sometimes it's for like the corporate end of it, so like all employees. And like one of the very first projects I worked on was converting like 30 hours of instructor-led training into more of a hybrid approach. So a lot of what I do is like e-learning development, making sure that it's interactive, engaging, including scenario simulations, and then also integrating on-the-job training, because I think that's very important and helpful for a lot of learners, especially in financial services, actually just any job, on-the-job training. So if I think they're kind of integrated with each other, it makes it more effective and it's a little stickier, I think, in your brain. But I would say that generally speaking, like while I do create infographics, participant guides, and like job aids, the majority of what I do in my role specifically is like e-learning, which is really fun because I know not everyone loves Storyline, but I love it.
Great, thank you. Okay, Sean.
Yeah, so like I said, I am a design and delivery consultant for Kaiser Permanente. And really what my job entails, kind of going back to my inspiration of wanting to make that exit from K-12, is I really am a train the trainer person and train them on best practices when providing instruction to new hires or ongoing training. Additionally, I inform them on learning theories, cognitive sciences, everything that you'll learn in this program. I really use that and kind of convey that information. I want to be clear, I'm by no means an expert in this in this realm, but I really am leveraging a lot of the learning theory and the learning science used in this program in my role now. If anybody is familiar with Kaiser Permanente, you know that you can't just call your doctor directly. You have to call into the care center. I train that staff in our Northern California region. So if you call the care center in Northern California, you are talking to somebody who has participated in one of my trainings one way or another. So it's a really exciting role, and it's of course really exciting to be in healthcare and kind of on that first line of defense when people are seeking advice on their health needs.
Great. All right, question 3. How have you leveraged the MS-LDT or MS-IDT degree to advance your career? And Daniela, I'll have you start.
Okay. So I haven't graduated yet. I graduate in May, but I've used my degree and also the skills that I've learned in this program to highlight the ways that additional valuable skills that are not usually listed in job descriptions. And this, so I can demonstrate my long-term value if I were to be hired for a full-time role, also negotiate for higher pay, and then also to get a promotion. So when I started the job that I currently have, I started as an intern, and my internship was meant to last 6 months, but they hired me full-time after 2. And when I was hired at the associate or junior level, but I was able to negotiate for the high end of the pay scale based on my education and skills. And then after being in that associate role for about 6 months, I was promoted to like regular standard level instructional designer, which came with like, that title and like a 10% pay bump. And all because I can say, I have these skills. I know about accessibility. I know how, like, I'm really proficient in Storyline. I have all these skills that some of them are not listed in your job description, but I have all this value that I can bring, and I have the education to back it up. Like, not officially yet, but very soon.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Danielle. Sean.
Very similar to Danielle, actually. I started in the role that I'm currently in a year ago on Tuesday, and I hadn't finished the program yet, but I even went into the interview saying, I know that I haven't finished this program, but this is what I know from the program thus far. And also this is what I know from my years of being a classroom teacher, right? And really brought that in and realized almost immediately that I was the only one on the team with the skill set that I have, which was shocking. And so I even continued to be able to leverage that, and having a conversation with my boss a couple of weeks ago of, I've been here for a year. This is the role that I've been in. This is the pay scale that I'm on. What's next? Where am I going from here? you know, and also reminding her, I come in with this skill set, this knowledge, these degrees, these years of experience. So make sure that you're going to use me appropriately. I think that's kind of a big thing these days. You know, we are of the generation, most of us are of the generation of like, go to school, get that education, make sure you're using it, right? Use it to promote yourself in your current job or any sort of job that you might be interested in down the line, right? So again, very similar to what Danielle just said.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, Monica.
I think, you know, depending on the sector, like they may or may not require a degree in, you know, learning design and technology, but because I didn't even apply to anything other than higher ed when I was in my job search. So for one, like that's just the thing that got me in, you know, aside from my experience and my background, you know, I needed that to get the job. And then also, since then, it's allowed me to actually also act as the SME in developing and revising courses for our continuing education program. So I'm actually teaching to teachers in LAUSD. So I'm developing my own courses. I'm able to revise the courses. So sometimes I'm the ID and the SME on some courses. And then I just have one of my colleagues, you know, review my revisions. And also ultimately my goal is to leverage this degree and my teaching degree so that I can teach in higher ed. Like I actually want to teach in the English programs or the education programs at University of San Diego. So that's my plan to ultimately leverage so that I could, you know, teach well into my retirement.
Okay. Moving on to question 4. What strategies did you use to market your teaching experience when applying for ID positions? And for this question, I will have Sean kick us off.
What strategies did I use? First and foremost, and I'm not saying this because I was a teacher, the heroes of the world, you know? So really what I did was I looked at the skills that I had from the classroom and I figured out a way to phrase those skills in a way that made sense to corporate America. That was really my go-to, right? One thing about teachers is we have people management. We know how to differentiate learning. We know how to analyze audiences. We know how to design, develop, and deliver curriculum on a whim. We can teach question answering strategies. We can teach, you know, we can learn something and we can teach it. You know, it might take us some trial and error, but that's the design process anyway. So really, I just looked at what I did and what I knew and just changed the words so that somebody in corporate America would be like, oh, this guy's been working in corporate America for the last 15 years, you know, when in reality, I've been a K-12 teacher. The other thing I did that I think is really important is you've got to change your resume from classroom teacher to instructional designer, learning designer, right? I know we kind of want to use the same jargon and we want to use the same phrases. It doesn't carry over, right? If you're applying for a job at, you know, another school district, it makes sense. But when you're applying and you're looking to exit that K-12 space, make sure that your resume says that.
Great, thank you. Monica, your strategies.
I mean, I think, you know, because I was a teacher too, I think it was very similar to what Sean did. You know, I made comparisons between what I learned in my MS-LDT program, you know, about learning theory and backwards planning and the type of, you know, the type of planning. And similarly, I took the skills that I have in teaching, technology knowledge, right? Being able to troubleshoot, organizational skills, multitasking skills, all the curriculum planning, project management, because although we're managing students and we're managing assignments and curriculum, we're also managing just projects in general, communicating and managing people, right? We manage our SMEs, we communicate with our SMEs, you know, managing expectations and deadlines in the classroom. Similarly, we do that when we're working with other people in our field. We collaborate with our colleagues, all of the things that we do as teachers. We just need to phrase them in the way that apply to the field that you want to move into, whether it's, you know, whatever sector you're moving into. And so taking those skills, like Sean said, you know, revising your resume so that it's less education and more like, these are the things that I can do and these are the things that I can implement. And, you know, I think that was my biggest strategy, was getting out of the teacher mindset, right? Because we're so geared to the language that we use in the classroom and in our professional development, and just translating, because even though I'm still in higher ed, the language is different, right? So it was very similar to what Sean said, and call me biased, but I think the teachers are really some of the most adaptable people in or professionals, because they can do so much. They're constantly doing everything. So
great. Yes. Thank you. Danielle.
So I wanted to echo what Monica and Sean were saying, because I did similarly, where I just changed a lot of the verbiage to match what the language used in instructional design. Because like Monica said, we as teachers, we have a lot of skills. We do a lot. I also made sure that I was tailoring it, because there are certain things that you'll put on a resume as a teacher if you're applying at a school that you don't necessarily need to include for like a corporate space. Like, yes, you did that, but you don't need to include that. So making sure that you're only mentioning what's relevant, because we do a lot, but not all of it's relevant. And then also shifting my resume to more of a skills-based format, so that the relevant skills and education are at the top. So that would be like the first thing that they saw. And ideally, it would leave like more of an impression. And so then they can view it through the lens of like, look at all these skills, and oh, I can see how those skills relate based on the work that, you know, that she was doing. And then I also think one other thing was including a link to my portfolio at the top, and making sure that my portfolio was like very visible, available, and easily accessible, because I think that made such a huge difference in how many callbacks or interviews I got after I added that resume or added that portfolio to my resume. I feel like I got so many more interviews after that, and people would reference, oh, I saw on your portfolio you worked on this project. Can you tell me more about that?
That's great. Thank you. Okay, I just want to call out, we have 2 questions left for our panelists, and then we'll move in. We have opportunity for Q&A. So for those of you who are tuning in, if you have any questions you want to drop in either to the chat or the Q&A functionality, either way, we'll see them. So if anything comes to mind, feel free to drop those in. But question 5 is, what is one thing you wish you had known, or a question you wish you had asked about ID work before you started your current position? And Monica, I'll have you start with this one.
Okay, so that one was really hard for me. I think I fell into a position that aligned very closely to like my own philosophy of the way the learner experience should be, right? Or the student experience. And so while some people call our structure very, cookie cutter, and that the courses are very similar, when you take one course in a program, you kind of know what to expect for the rest of the program. And I like that. I think because students know what they're getting every time they go into a course, so I think that aligned really well for me. What I liked about where I work now is that I would want to know what opportunities there are to innovate or to collaborate or contribute to existing procedures, right? How is it set in stone? This is the way we're doing it, and there's no other, way to do it. Or is my feedback valuable, right? Will I be able to contribute? Do I have ideas based on my past experience that would make this experience or this, the way that our courses are delivered or designed, would it make it better? So I think I would want to know, how much can I contribute to the existing procedures and structures of the department, I would say. And would my input or experience or knowledge be valued? Sometimes you go into a place and it's just that this is what it is. And I've learned that at this in my job now, they're very open to improving things, to making things better for the students. So while we have a very structured way that we do things, they're always open to improving it and making changes if needed. So
great.
I don't know if that answered the question specifically.
That's great. Thank you, Danielle.
I also struggled with this because I feel like I really enjoy the work that I do, and I think there haven't been too many, because from what I've heard from different people, they're like, there's a lot especially former teachers, they'll tell me, oh, this is not as much work as you used to do when you were teaching. And they tell me things is absolutely true. It's very different. It's nice. I like it. One thing that is a bit silly is we had a course with one of our professors was talking about being able to manage and organize your files and how important that is. And I thought I was like pretty good at that, especially as a teacher. Like they were fairly organized, but you get so many files when you're doing ID work. Like there's images, there's videos, audio clips, reference materials, storyline files. You have so many files. And I was like, I am not as good as I thought at organizing these files. So make sure you're very good at that, because I think that it's a very valuable skill, especially when someone's like, hey, that project you work on like 6 months ago, do you have this specific thing from that? And you don't want to dig for that. And also just making sure you're labeling everything, because when you have so many files, sometimes you get a little bit lazy and you're like, oh, I'll fix that label later, but no, do it in that moment.
That's definitely very good advice. Sean, anything to add here?
Oh, yeah. The one thing I wish I had known is that there's going to be a long line of no's before you get that yes for your first ID LD role. It's going to be discouraging, and you're going to want to just resort to what you know and stay in your comfort zone, but continue to push yourself. If this is something that you really want to do and you're ready to move out of the K-12 space and you really want to move into an ID LD role, continue to push, and eventually you're going to get that yes, and you're going to land a job that is ultimately going to change your life. Kind of in the same vein, I believe, I can't remember if it was Danielle or Monica who was saying it, but the work is so much less than when I was a teacher. When I was a teacher, I was working 60, 70 hours a week. And yes, I got summers off and all those breaks and everything, but I was still working, day and night and trying to do, all of these things. And so just keep trying. If it's something that you really want to do, embrace the no's, because you're going to get a yes. And, every no is one no closer to that yes that you're looking for.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, question 6. Did you experience imposter syndrome during your job search or in your new role? If so, how did you overcome it? Danielle.
I definitely experienced imposter syndrome during my job search. So just like Sean was saying, you have to be you have to expect that there will be no's, and it can feel really discouraging. Like I felt like it's because I'm not qualified enough. It's because they probably just think, oh, she's just another teacher. She doesn't have direct experience. And I was really worried about, what they would think seeing my resume. And something that really helped me in overcoming that was meeting with current and former students who had been in the same boat and successfully transitioned. Dr. Evans had actually connected me with a few, and that was really helpful. And just speaking to them and hearing how they were able to do it. And also meeting with Dr. Evans helped a lot. Like whenever I needed encouragement, when I was in the job search, I would ask her for advice multiple times. I would ask her for advice. And I did the same thing before I tried to negotiate for higher pay, and I did the same thing when I was trying to get a promotion. She is such a valuable resource. I am so grateful for her. And when I would talk to her, it would remind me that, like, there's a lot that I know. I have all of these skills, and I would tell myself that I could do it. And I think you just need to remind yourself that, because we're teachers, you've done hard things before and you can do this. We tell our kids this, that you just, like that growth mindset. You have to really just believe in yourself. You can do it. There's like that magic of yet. It's not no, it's not yet. And I think even if you don't believe in yourself, then fake it till you make it, because a confident mindset and even just determination to try to feel confident, it just makes such a huge difference.
It's great. Thank you. Sean.
Almost same exact answer as Danielle. And honestly, another opportunity for me to just thank Dr. Evans for putting up with me for those 20 months of the program. I'm sure that there were times where she just wanted to email me like, you need to chill out, kid, But yes, I did really experience imposter syndrome. Like I said a little bit ago, when you're a good teacher, you stay a good teacher, right? And when you are getting a no after no after no after no, you're like, am I just a teacher? And I don't mean that to sound like just a teacher. I mean that to like am I making the right decision? Am I going in the right direction? Is this actually where I want to go with my career? Because I know I'm a good teacher, but again, that's my safe space, right? I've been in that space for a long time. And so it was more about pushing myself again out of that safe space. But yes, the imposter syndrome is real. And I wish I could say it goes away. I don't think it does because even now I've been in my role for a year. I still, there are days where I sit in meetings and I'm like, do I know what I'm talking about? And yes, I do. Like, yes, of course I do. I like Dr. Evans taught me everything that I know, you know, so like, of course I know what I'm talking about. But you know, it's really just taking that leap and really embracing kind of the free fall into it and changing that career and embracing that imposter syndrome and all of the emotions that come along with it. You're not an imposter. You're just going through a transition.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then Monica.
Well, of course, yes, I experienced imposter syndrome. You know, I applied to so many positions and didn't get any callbacks. And when I did get finally interviewed for this position, I mean, my first question was like, hey, are you going to train me or do I need to hit the ground running? Like, I'm like, are you going to help me learn this? Because I didn't think that I had all of the skills. Like I knew that, and I even told them at my last, my last interview, because I went through 2 interview processes. The first time they hired someone else, but then that kind of fell through. And I was really disappointed. I emailed again. I said, just so you know, I'm still available anytime anything else comes up. And then they said, well, by the way, this one fell through. Would you want to start the interview process or, go through the last interview? And so I did. And I told them, I was just, I was ready for this position. I knew it. And I said, I know that I do not have experience in this particular field. I have my degree. If there are things that I do not know how to do, I will learn how to do them. This is what we teach our kids, right? If you don't know how to do it, you'll figure it out. And so, I'm almost 3 years into this position. And, there are a lot of things that I don't know. And my colleagues are amazing. I mean, I thought that I was like a high achiever, but I mean, everyone on my team is a high achiever. So I just feel like, oh my gosh, I have so much to learn from them. You're never finished learning and there's always something new coming up. And now we have AI and how that's affecting education and just every field, right? So there's always hurdles that you're going to hit and new things that you need to learn, and it's constant. And I feel like we'll always have that imposter syndrome, right? Like, are we ever going to stop learning or figure it all out? So yeah, for sure. But keep going because it's great. It's the best decision I ever made, and I'm super lucky. And one more thing. I just had a meeting with SME. He was actually an academic director. And one of the things he said about, just changing professions was about making connections and networking. Mm-hmm. And so get close with all of the people in your program, your instructors, make sure they know about you, because that's also how you get in. And that's how I got in. I knew people. So, yes.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to more questions. We've got quite a few, so we will start rolling through these, and I'll open these to any of our panelists here. And Dr. Evans, if you want to jump in on any of these, please feel free. But one person did ask about a recording. Yes, we will be sending a recording later this afternoon. Here's a question. Based on your experience, can you share the first 5 steps to prepare for the transition? Thoughts on that?
I don't know if I have a 5-step process, but what I can tell you is, the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're updating your resume, make sure that you're updating your LinkedIn. The other thing that I really encourage people to do is kind of like what was just said, reaching out to your network. The other thing is have some guts and reach out randomly to people on LinkedIn. Hey, so-and-so, I see you're an instructional designer at XYZ company, would love to learn more about what you do. I can't tell you how many IDs that I spoke with who would message randomly on LinkedIn, and they'd be like, "Oh man, I would love to do that." Now one of them is a really good friend of mine, and we're going hiking on Saturday, right? So if nothing else, you get a friend out of it. But yeah, I would say, start with updating your resume and your LinkedIn, and really start building your network. So I guess I don't have a 5-step process, maybe a 3-step process, if that's okay.
We'll take it.
I'll add to what Sean said. There's a LinkedIn group called Path to L&D, and it's primarily a group of educators transitioning to L&D. So that's something to look up if you're on LinkedIn. Path to L&D, I'm pretty sure that's the name of it.
I'll add a couple more. It's just upskilling on the technology, right? The types of tools that you could use in instructional design or learning design. And similar to LinkedIn, there's also a Facebook group that's really good for instructional design. And people go there and ask questions. And there's a few folks that are just always really helpful in providing information about making that transition.
Okay. Great. I'll go ahead and move on to the next question, which is, are there any free resources available that would allow us to be exposed to materials and projects that IDs have completed?
So to that first question, if you're not familiar with the eLearning Heroes community, it's a community of instructional designers, learning designers, e-learning designers, and developers that share so much. It's such a very robust community, professional learning community. So it's mostly centered around the Articulate 360 suite of products. So lots of questions and sample projects. They do something called the weekly challenge. And so weekly people from all over the world are submitting samples of how they're using the Articulate tools. It's a very generous community. So if you have a question about like, oh, I'm having trouble with this with Rise 360 or Storyline 360, can it do this? Or I'm getting stuck here. People will answer your questions. Many of their discussion spaces are moderated. And so there's someone actively checking to make sure that people get responses to their questions. They're also very, tend to be a community that's very generous in sharing not only like what they created, but like the actual file so you can open it and replicate it. In our program, we do use the Articulate suite. So that's something to know in terms of getting experience with some hands-on e-learning design and development in our program. But I think just kind of building a professional learning network, there's people you can follow on who regularly post on YouTube, have blog sites. One of our professors, Lindsay O'Neill, she has a very active blog site. She teaches our advanced learning design course and also our learning media design course, which focuses on universal design for learning and accessibility. So if you look up Lindsay O'Neill, you'll find her YouTube and her blog site. But just following people, seeing they kind of keep you up to date on what's going on in the field.
Great, thanks. And Dr. Evans, to confirm, I think Derek included a link here, but eLearning Heroes, was that the first community that you mentioned?
Yeah, the eLearning Heroes community.
Right.
You can sign up for a free membership.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Great. One question that we've gotten a couple of times here, and then I will finish out the questions in the chat and pop over to the Q&A. Dr. Evans, I think this would be a good one for you to touch on is the differences between master's degree and certification. What might be right for an individual?
It depends. It's going to depend. I mean, if you are looking for like the Google answer, you'll find whatever answer you're looking for. If you want kind of to get a confirmed answer that you don't need a master's degree to go into the field, you can find a lot of Google results that'll tell you you don't need a master's degree. And if you're like, I think I need a master's degree, do I need it? You can find a lot of results that'll say you need a master's degree. I think our panelists, and we have some students here that are in capstone now. And I saw at least one name from someone who graduated from the program. Our master's degree, ours, going back to just the why, the USD, I think because of our focus on making sure that our graduates go into the field being very confident in making design decisions. And that's separate from feelings of like imposter syndrome, because I think all of our panelists said like, yeah, you might feel that, but really when you just like take a pause, take a deep breath, you're like, oh, I know this, right? Sean mentioned like being like, I'm the person in the room that knows the most about this, right? And so like kind of standing firm and confident in that knowledge base that you've built throughout the program that you continue to add on to. Monica mentioned like, you know, we use the phrase lifelong learning. I forget exactly how she phrased it, but just like these opportunities to still continue learning after receiving the master's degree. In my experience, someone who might want to pursue a certificate, it's not set in stone, but someone who might want to pursue a certificate is someone who maybe is uncertain about making the time and financial investment in a master's degree and wants to take kind of just take a look, take a peek and see if this is a right fit for them. And so sometimes the certificate courses might be 1 or 2 credits rather than 3 credits in a graduate master's program. And there might be, I don't know for certain, but there might be some more flexibility about how you kind of space out completing the certificate program. You can maybe, you know, come in and out, take the classes in you know, the order that you would like to take them or whatever. And certificate programs tend to be primarily skills oriented. So if you're someone who's like, you know what, I keep seeing these jobs announcements for, they're looking for somebody who can build in, you know, edit videos in Camtasia. They're looking for somebody who can build e-learning content in Storyline 360. Then if you're feeling like you're tending towards like all of the skills based work more than the design and conceptualizing and curriculum design work, then a certificate might be a better path for you, because you're going to get, it's going to be like all skills. Whereas in our master's program, again, broken record, but we're teaching you research and theory-based foundations about how people learn. That's how you're going to be able to go into a room and know why you're making a decision. You're going to be able to talk to stakeholders, to learners who are experiencing the problem that you're trying to solve, and know the questions to ask, and also have the tech skill set on top of that as well. So that's
Thank you.
my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions we have is about whether or not you are working full-time while going through your degree programs.
Yes, I was. For the first few months, I was a 5th grade teacher, and then I moved into a temporary ID role, and then into this role at Kaiser. So yes, I worked full-time.
I was also full-time teaching in the classroom and taking the program online. And I think I want to speak to why University of San Diego. The 2 instructors that challenged me the most were Dr. Evans and Lindsay O'Neill, and they're both at this program now. And I did my degree elsewhere. And I mean, I thought that I was a good student, and I did assignments correctly and everything was fine. And when Dr. Evans graded my first assignment, I was like, what? and so she worked so hard with me to like help me understand what it was that I was not understanding and what I needed to do right. And the time that she put into working with me as an individual student and setting up office hours and you know, Zoom calls. And I mean, it was just, I couldn't believe that someone would spend that much time with just an individual student. So I was really grateful for that. So yeah, that's why USD.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Danielle, you are full-time currently?
Currently full-time. So when I was an intern, I was like part-time, but the first year of the program, I was staying home with my son. He was like a year old when I started this program. He's going to be 3 in June.
Yeah, we've watched baby grow up.
That's great.
To that point, though, we do have other students who've been in the program with, I think, 2 others with newborns. And we have people who are working full-time, people who are working part-time, people who have taken a break from work to pursue the degree full-time. You know, everyone's circumstance is different, but we do try to we are mindful that many of our students are working full-time and thinking about how we design our assignments and even group assignments when those come up, to ensure that everybody has the time that they need to work on assignments and get through the program successfully. Christy, Miriam mentioned that there's questions in the Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. Just about to pop over there. Thank you. We've got about 4 or 5 more questions that we'll try to get through in our remaining time. The first, what software or programs would be most beneficial to become a proficient or expert in?
For the panelists, I think Miriam's asking.
So really quick, just because someone asked a question related to that. So for us, we use Storyline and Rise. Those are like the 2 primary things. And then of course, like PowerPoint and other tools. But we have instructional technologists who typically do all of our Storyline and video presentations and some of the media. So it just depends where you end up. We work differently. Because I know some of those tools, I do my own media, and I'm allowed to do that. So it just depends where you go. But Storyline and Rise are like the big ones that we use.
Another question here. When starting the transition of a K-12 resume to a more corporate format, what would be a good start to avoid that long line of no's?
I'm assuming that's a good start on your resume.
I think so.
Okay. The first thing I would do is put your skills at the top. That you want that to be the very first thing that a recruiter is going to see, because they are fielding thousands of resumes. And so if your skills are at the top, they can quickly look at it and be like, yep, that person's going to go through, right? To avoid that long line of no's, if anybody has an answer to that, I'm willing to hear it, because I still am not too certain how I finally got that yes.
Another question that's closely related that someone asked is, what skills should I work on improving while waiting for that yes? So I think that might tie in there a little bit.
The skills that I really worked on was, talking about building assessments, or man, I feel like it's been so long since I've looked at my resume. I'm kind of blanking on it now. But it was a lot of, gap analysis, needs analysis, knowledge about the audience. The other thing is tailoring it to the industry, right? I work in healthcare, but that's going to look a lot different if I wanted to transition into a tech role, with one of the big 5. So making sure that you're also utilizing that appropriate verbiage as well, so that you're kind of standing out at the top of whatever industry you want to be a part of. Google and AI were really helpful tools for that.
Yeah, I was going to add that AI, Sean, you had mentioned like changing the teacher speak to corporate speak or healthcare or whatever. And so you might use an AI tool to help you switch, standards-based assessment to something that a corporate organization would recognize. So that would be a good tool to use. And then also, in terms of I think a good strategy is kind of to deconstruct your resume, especially if you're a career transitioner. So instead of starting with your work experience, and then you're like, 5th grade teacher at, West Elm Elementary School, for the last 6 years, and that's the first thing they see. No, They're going to be like, oh, this
Right.
teacher wants an ID job. You want the employer, I mean, you want to have the right words so that the bot reads it and can pass you through. But then when a person reads it, you want them thinking, oh, I want to hire this ID. They have the skill set that we're looking for. And so, excuse me, a recommendation I give to a lot of our students who ask is to shake up the resume and list the relevant experience first. So either if that's that skill tab at the top where you're delineating the skill sets and then writing about the relevant experience. And then at the end, put work history or employment history. So you're listing like where you've been employed and what dates you've been employed, but the work that you do and that's applicable to the job description is up at the top and not associated with being the 5th grade teacher at West Elm Elementary School. It's just a skill set that you possess, and that's what you're describing.
Okay, couple more questions. Does the master's degree help replace the lack of direct work experience in LD and ID?
It can, and now that's not going to be like 100%, you know, for every employer, but I do know that our graduates look for positions and apply for positions that say, you know, anywhere from 1 to 5, even sometimes more than 5 years of experience, because even without the direct position or opportunity you've had that says I was the ID or ID intern or ID whatever on your resume, you have the skill set to be able to do the job, and the evidence will be in the portfolio that you'll complete. So you'll be able to talk about various aspects of the ID process, that gap analysis, that you know, the needs analysis piece, the doing learner analysis, creating learner personas, doing program assessment and evaluation, writing learner assessments. All of those things you're going to experience in the program, and you'll have opportunities to show, working with emerging technologies, thinking about what is the relevance and, you know, if it makes sense to use a particular tool to meet a learning need or not, and being able to figure out what is the learning need and address it. Those are all skills that you take. That's what you're selling when you go into a job interview, your ability to speak to all of those things. And so your portfolio is a kind of like gets your foot in the door for sure.
Great, thank you. One of the questions here, I love this question, it says, silly question, but do you miss summer vacation? I love to travel internationally. And I do want to mention one of the things that we'll speak to quickly. This has come up a couple of times, but this program is designed with working professionals in mind. The asynchronous schedule, the way that you interact online on your schedule, we have that in mind, that you do have, you know, work and family and all of these things. So it's good to keep in mind. But this, I know, is a very classroom-centric question. So I'll let you guys take it away.
My short answer is no. I know that might be surprising to hear. The reason why it's a no, though, is because I can take vacation whenever I want.
Yes.
I don't have to wait until summer. I don't have to wait until spring break, winter break, holiday breaks, anything like that. I can take vacation whenever I want. I've already gone on 3 this year, and it's March, and I have another one in 2 weeks. So, you know, and the other great thing about it is because I'm not traveling when everybody else is traveling, it's a lot cheaper.
I think Danielle mentioned the whole work-life balance, right? I think this job's provided that, and I'm not afraid to be sick. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you would go to work sick because writing lesson plans was more work than actually just showing up. So I don't miss those at all. Like it just, I have balance. I can, like, Sean said, you can take a vacation anytime you want. And there aren't 160 people relying on you to show up.
I think for me also no, because of the work-life balance, and also because I'm not working like so many hours a week. It's amazing. I don't feel during those breaks, I would just be so exhausted. It would be trying to recover. I don't feel that anymore, and that's nice. Like I'm fine trading that in for what I have now.
And as an added bonus, I don't know if this has been the same experience for the other panelists. I've actually gotten less sick after
Yes.
leaving the classroom. I'm not nearly as sick as often as I was. So that's just a real added bonus, you know, and I'm not worried about, you know, getting strep throat, the flu, COVID, whatever it may be over a school break. So
Glad to hear it. Great. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate your time. I do just want to call out, I dropped some links, our email, the website in the chat. For those of you who are considering the program, just want to highlight that our next application deadline is coming up on April 4th. So you definitely have time to start working with an enrollment advisor if you're not already. If you want to get connected or you're not sure who to speak to, feel free to send us an email at the email listed down in the chat, learningdesigntech@sandiego.edu. If you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to us. If summer is not the right time, we do offer starts 3 times a year. We have September starts, January, and May starts every year. So feel free to get in touch with us, but we hope to hear from you. Dr. Evans, anything else, anything we missed?
No, this is a wonderful panel. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Thanks to our participants for great questions and engagement. And I just appreciate everyone's time. Thank you so much.
Great. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Have a good one.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.